qualities will change from
Há 4 anos atrás, estou tentando aplicar e
Welcome to the show. I'm Tessa Manuelo. Today I have a special guest who's going to talk about legal information design. Did you know that you can use as a legal professional tools from design and strategies and methodologies to communicate more effectively, communicate in a way that is more clear and more understandable for your client? And that's actually a good thing. That's exactly what you're going to discover today on the live with a really special guest expert that is an information designer as well as a lawyer. She founded Aclara Legal Design with 10 years of experience as an international litigation lawyer and now also a designer. Her name is Anna Posthumus Meyjes. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it well, but the guest is going to be there to correct me if needed, and she's going to talk to you about what are the things you need to know and to do today to use information design in your work as a legal professional. Hi, Anna, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Tessa. It's great to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
I hope I didn't make any terrible mistake on your name.
It's Anna Posthumus Meyjes, but you know, it's very difficult even for Dutch people, so never mind.
Well, thank you for correcting me. Thank you for being here. Please, is there anything you would like to say to the audience before we dive into the topic of legal information design? Oh, yes, some live viewers here.
Well, you gave me, I see some familiar names already in the chat. Well, thank you for having me on this live talk. I've been following your work for the last couple of years. I think almost from the start of setting up Legal Creatives, and I started my business in legal design not long after, actually. So I'm Anna. I'm from the Netherlands. I live in Amsterdam, and as you mentioned, I worked as a lawyer for 10 years at several different law firms in the Netherlands. And in my work as a lawyer, I started making visualizations because it helped me organize information and get my head. Get my head in order and to really analyze my cases, and using visualizations in my legal work ended up being one of the things that I enjoyed a lot and also found was very effective. And well, long story short, it ended up becoming my business, which I started 3 years ago with Aclara Legal Design. So yes, in a few sentences, that's my legal design journey.
This is fantastic. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for the audience for being here. As you know, we love to have interactive talks and conversations, so don't be shy to interact in the chat, leave a comment, ask a question, and also tell your friends and your colleagues that we are live right now. I'm sure there's many of your colleagues who are curious about what's legal information design. Maybe they don't even know what it is. And so do us a favor, tag someone in the chat right now so they can join this conversation with Anna. As you have heard, Anna has a ton of experience as a lawyer, as a designer for many years now, setting up her boutique consultancy firm and really specializing in this field that is so important. I see Sabrina is throwing a party here because it's also Anna's birthday today. So happy birthday, Anna.
Thank you.
This is so great. I don't know who is a LinkedIn user. It's Melanie Gerlache, who is also throwing a party here. Thanks, Melanie, for being here.
Thank you. We're celebrating legal information design today.
Yeah, that's perfect. Let's communicate using emojis in the chat. So let's dive into the topic, Anna. You've told us a little bit about you, and tell us a little bit about what is legal information design according to you, and how it can be useful for legal professionals.
Well, as I just mentioned, like the need for better for using visualization really came from my actual legal work, just practicing law, and it started a journey to dive into visual communication, and I've studied a lot about graphic design and information design, and to become a designer. And I think I can now say, like, legal information, like, we have different terms, of course. Like Tessa, you know all about this, like legal design thinking, legal information design, and people are like, what are the differences, or are they similar? What definitions should we use? And I think there is not a huge consensus about this, but I think I try to stick to the terms that are used for specific areas of design. So in design, information design is a subcategory. It's about designing information by usually by using text and visuals. Can also be audio, but I don't really use that in law. And it's usually the combination of text and visuals, designed in a user-centric way. So you look at the users, your target audience of your communication, what they need, and how to make that communication effective by use of text and visuals. So I see information design as a specialization of graphic design. I think my basis is in graphic design. And when it comes to law and legal information design, I see that as the application of information design in law and legal services.
Thanks so much for sharing your point of view on the definitions. But I think beyond the definitions, as you have said, Anna, it's about the impact that it can bring to the client and to the end user. I really like the fact that you've been studying so diligently and with a lot of commitment, design. I mean, when you got started, do you want to share a little bit? I think it was something you were passionate about, and you decided to go all in, right?
Yes, definitely. I'm usually the type of person that goes all in with the things that I do. That can be a good thing, not always is, but well, as I said, I think the need for better communication really came from my legal work, and I think a lot of lawyers, they know that when you're studying something new or complicated, you may go to your whiteboard and you sketch out like parties A, B, and C and their relationships, and then once you're done, you're like, oh, let's go back to my computer and type everything in and put it into text and then send it to someone else who's gonna have the same challenge. So I thought, okay, we should do better. I think we need to do this better by actually using those visualizations. Well, of course, when I still worked as a lawyer, in an office setting that had like no designers and no design tools, my options were limited. But even with the limited tools I had, I started making visualizations in PowerPoint and in Microsoft in general. And I realized that it's mostly about trying to get your message across. I noticed that if you have to visualize a situation, you really have to understand the situation. Otherwise, your visualization doesn't add up. So it really forces you to get down to the basics. And I think that's really helpful for your client if you're sending it to a client or someone else, because it forces you to be very concise and very clear. And the same way you would actually have to be in text too, but I think text can be a bit more forgiving. So coming back to your question, when I realized that like this is what I want to take further, I think my whole business plan was like, I think this is a good idea, and if I think this is going to be helpful for a lawyer, if it's going to be helpful for me, it's going to be helpful for other lawyers as well. That was my basic idea. I had no experience setting up a business, and I didn't even work as a designer professionally yet, but I really delved deep into graphic design. So I did lots of classes, graphic design in general and information design specifically. Read a lot of books. You may not think reading books is the best source to learn about a visual style of design, but actually there's a lot of theory behind visual communication, why some things work and other things don't, for example, and knowing that basis, also, for example, how color palettes work, color psychology, how we as humans interact with products, with interfaces. So the whole user experience side. Yes, I think this is my continuous learning journey that that only, like, with every step of the way, made me more interested in design, made me realize that there are so many great designers out there, and we in the world of law only are starting to realize what can be done with design.
That's so well said. Yeah, absolutely. This is the beginning of a new era for law with design, right? I think this is already changing the face of documents. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But there's a lot of potential we can use. And so I'm happy to see the audience being so engaged. I have prompted the live attendees and also replay viewers. You can do that too. Let us know where in the world you are using an emoji. And so we've had Sunashi say she's here from Mexico, Veracruz. We've got as well Marty. Marty is all in as well. Cynthia from Los Angeles. We have, I think this is Melanie. I would imagine this is next to you. Is it Amsterdam? I don't know.
It looks attractive.
We have Yasmin from Algeria. And here we have, I think this is Melanie saying, good point about visualization. Means so much to us, shapes, colors, enhance understanding, and words sometimes are a barrier, and you tend to miss the big picture. We have Cecilia also from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Sabrina asking a questions about some of the books you have read that could be useful for the audience. Melanie is from Belgium. Oh yes, I remember having that kind of experience in Belgium. Fries and beers and rain. So Anna, let's answer the question on the books. Do you have a few books that you would recommend?
Oh yes,
I'm sure there's a lot.
So, yeah, I'm looking at my bookshelf here. So I think it's a wide. I think when you want to learn about information design, there's a wide span of things that are useful to learn. So I have. I can also put them in a chat later with the names and everything. But I think books on visual thinking. On specific, like taking visual notes, are very helpful, all the way up to creative thinking, content design. What else do I have here on my bookshelf? How to work with graphs, with diagrams, very important also, and graphic design in general, UX design. And also, I think information design, at least in my experience, I did a lot of classes, and I did 1 year graphic design training schedule. But as far as I know, at least here in the Netherlands, there isn't a specific education for information design. And if you look at the design field, information design, I see that people who work in that field are from journalism, are from academia, are from data heavy fields, so like business intelligence, for example. So I think the information design as a field is very diverse in backgrounds of its designers, and I think that reflects in the type of books that I studied, and courses that I did online.
This is so useful, Anna, and I think it shows, your answer shows very well, like you need to, it seems like you need to teach yourself how to do this, right? We need to
Yeah.
self-teach ourselves.
Yeah.
Of course, there are design schools, but that is a long path. You have taken this path. But even when you do take this path, you keep, you need to keep reading, keep educating yourself, keep
Yes.
learning, because also the world changed, the tools change, technologies is allowing us to do so many exciting things. So we need to stay updated. There is no, there is, from what I understand from your past, there is, you just don't stop and stop learning. It's just a continuous journey, as you have said. Let's dive a little bit into the things that we need to know and to do if we want to use information design for documents, client proposals, online communication. What are the things legal professionals need to know in order to use legal information design effectively?
I think it's, well, maybe the first thing to know is to realize that visual skills is something that you should have is a tool that you should have in your toolbox. I think the biggest realization comes from, okay, so you're a lawyer, you're used to writing, you're used to reading a lot, but instead of just go into your computer and writing stuff, first let's think about, okay, so whatever you're going to be making, whether it's a contract, it's a piece of like legal advice or any other legal document, who is it for and what do they need from this document? I think that's the most important thing. And then the next step is in what form would be most helpful for that audience to achieve their goal, because the communication serves a purpose, like you want to inform someone or convince someone, or whether you're going to court and convince the judge of your arguments, or your in-house counsel and you want to assist someone in a business division. So look at that goal and then think about the form in which you may be able to help them on that journey. And once people embrace that using visualizations is also a form that they can use, I think that opens up a lot of opportunities. And so the next step is, what skills do you have if you want to use some types of visualizations? I usually see it like I see two things. So on one hand, visual thinking, and that means I usually explain it. If you know how mind mapping works, this is an exercise I always do with my clients in my workshops, for example. It's a very simple exercise. A mind map starts with a central theme in the center of your page. You can do it with pencil on paper, or you can do it digitally. And you draw one branch and go to a sub topic, and put a circle around that, and then think of subtopics. And before you know it, you've drawn and written a whole structure about a certain topic. That's a visual skill. That's the expression of topics you've written down is in a visual format. And I think this is a basic skill that still a lot of people don't know about and they don't use. And there are many different visual skills that you visual thinking skills, because it helps you to think more visually. Something that is more natural to some people than others, but we as human beings are always, like, the 99% of people are more comfortable with more visual ways of information than purely text. So have a visual thinking way of working, and then specific visual skills. So if you are comfortable drawing something, that's great. If you're not very good with drawing, but you can go to PowerPoint and you know how to use shapes. I usually say if you use a circle, a square, a triangle, very basic shapes, you can put them together, because the square with the triangle on top becomes a house. Once you start thinking how to compose shapes based on basic shapes, that's your first step into more visual way of communication. So these visual or design skills is something that you can learn. Some people are more some people have more talent to develop those skills than others, but in general, we as human beings are all very visual, and it's definitely a skill that by practicing you just get better at, and you become more comfortable at, also within your business setting.
Yes, Anna, I love how you got to present. I've taken some notes here also for the audience to be able to really follow your arguments, if I may say so. Who is this document for? What do people need? What form is going to be most effective? Those are 3 tips Anna just shared with us all. For you to understand, in fact, it seems like information design is the way you present it. It seems easier than what we think. Although it probably takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and errors, right? To think visually, information. Also, I really like what you said, that we are all, as human beings, we are all visual thinkers. I was reading a great study recently that said, like, if you read just text, 3 days later, you're going to remember 10% of the information.
Yeah.
Add an image to this, you're going to remember 60% of the information 3 days later.
Yes.
And that is all human beings. It's not just lawyers, it's everybody. Yeah. So we're visual thinkers, right? We just got to use text, and then we just maybe got to overuse text a little bit. And now it's kind of, we're kind of going back to the basics in some ways, right?
Yes, and it makes sense, because ever since you start ever since you start primary school, what you practice most is writing in your communication, right? So drawing becomes something you do in art class. So it just disappears from your school curriculum. So you've been practicing, of course, maths and other subjects, but your communication is all in text. So of course that's going to be developed more, but you need to learn how to read and write in school. But seeing, we can do from the day we are born. So it's a more intuitive skill. It's not really a skill. It's something we acquire.
Like a more intuitive language or way of communicating.
Yes.
I see Cynthia say sketching is definitely helping her. And what you have said, Anna, I think it was so true. Like we all kind of think visually, and then we try to make sense of what we have in our minds using words on the document. But if we are able to just translate what we have in our minds with the visuals, of course, also using some words. We're not saying that we should stop using words, but having a mix that would probably make the information more clear, more effective. But I'm pretty sure there are some mistakes we tend to do at times. Maybe there are some really terrible beginner's mistake you want to talk about. But even when you're more pro, like you've been doing this for years, maybe not mistakes, but challenges you go through when you do this kind of work. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, mistakes just come back to the visual skills. Of course, it makes sense that if it's something that you don't really practice, it's going to be difficult at first. So you need to get a bit comfortable with it. And that leads us maybe to the first mistake or challenge. And that is people are like, oh, but I'm not creative, or I can't draw. Well, I don't think either of these is true. I think everyone can be creative and everyone can draw, but it's just about what expectations we have of ourselves. And I always say it's not about it's not about making a drawing that looks really nice, that looks very attractive. It's about communication. It's about getting your point across. So if you use one circle here and one circle there, and you use an arrow from left to right, then you know something is moving from left to right. You don't have to have a lot of visual skills to use to make that kind of visualization. So I think first challenge is when you want to work more visually, if you have that voice in your head saying, I'm not creative, or I can't draw, that's just a voice that you can just ignore. And if you've been practicing more with making visualization in your legal work, for example, the whole A, B, and C situation with what are their legal relationships, for example, if that's something you want to visualize, and you want to take it a step further. So you really want to use that visualizations, for example, in court. You want to explain to the court that your client is party A, and then what happened between them and party B and C, for example. It's really important to know who your audience is. So if you're going to court, the court is your audience. So I think a mistake is to think that how you like to write, what you like your court documents, for example, or how you developed a certain visual style, will be one size fits all. So it's always about reaching your target audience. So you really need to invest time in getting to know them. And of course, if you go to court, the judges are very knowledgeable. But if you work in a smaller company and you are the only lawyer, and people from sales come to you with a legal question, your audience is totally different. And I guess all lawyers know that you would use different words to explain a situation to someone who's not that familiar in law. But that's also something to keep in mind when you're making visualizations, to always know who you're making it for and what they need to know from you. And that leads us to the third challenge or mistake. That is to always test your designs. I think I work, I'm a full-time designer now, and this has been my sole focus for the last couple of years. But I've never made a design where the first version of my design was exactly how it needed to be. And we're not aiming for perfection in the first version, but it's not just me working on a second or third or fourth version. The design is not for yourself, even though it's your legal work, but it's for your audience, your user, your client. So you should always test your designs with them, and or as many people, many stakeholders as you can, because they will trigger questions. They will notice things in your design that you hadn't noticed before, and they will really focus on what they need. Like, their questions and their feedback will make you a better designer, because you better understand what they need from your documents.
So testing is the last and most important strategy you need to use. It's a complete shift in their perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
in the legal profession, we're not used to test our documents. Maybe you want to demystify a little bit what do you mean by testing? How does it work? And by the same token, Anna, since you have so much experience, are there any projects you've been doing, are you working on right now, that, you know, so we get to understand the full potential of this by knowing a little bit the kind of projects you've been doing in your practice since you founded Aclara Legal Design?
Yeah, so I think the maybe a little bit about my design process. So I recently did a project for a British bank. This was part of a governance project, and what we did, and I do that in other projects too. We were making a document from scratch. So it can be a compliance document, it can be like privacy document, so anything legal related, where you have a lot of information that you want people to read. In general, it's the type of thing that people don't like voluntarily read. Like, it's not super attractive to like, let's sit down and read this whole privacy guidelines documents, for example. So you really have to make a big effort in making it as engaging and accessible as you can. So engagement, accessibility, and empowerment of users. So those are like core values in what I do. So for this project, we started with a couple of interviews, and interviews should have a lot of questions. Writing down all the answers from the people you're talking to, and not leading them too much in like whether their answers are right or wrong. You just take your. I always imagine that I'm the journalist taking in all the information that they're giving me, because my design is going to be better the more I tune into what people want. And I always listen for emotional cues as well. So we did interviews with stakeholders where we asked them, so if we're drafting up this guidelines document, governance guidelines, what do you need from that document? Where would you find it? Who would you talk to about this? So a lot of questions like this, to first get a first understanding of how people would use it or would want to use it. And then we held a couple of co-creation sessions where let's say we had 10 topics that we thought, okay, based on the interviews, these are the things that we need to include in these guidelines. And we put them on Post-its and used Mural, the online whiteboarding platform, and asked people to move around the Post-its, like more important, less important. And what you're actually doing is you're engaging the stakeholders to think with you, so in collaboration with you, to think about the information architecture. So information architecture is important in any information design projects I do. It basically is like what is most important, what is less important, and that order of what's important based on what your users need is going to determine what the design will be like. Maybe also as an example for this information architecture. Because I think that this is something, even if you so far not comfortable at all with any visual skills, is something that everyone can apply. If you think of a contract, and the contract starts with the parties and having the registered overseer and like their chamber of commerce number, etc., etc., and then 2 pages of definitions. That's fine. But if you look at the user's perspective for a contract, it's about, well, like party A and party B, they want to get it, they want to do a deal, they want to do something, get something, establish something. They know who they are. So they're like all their registration details. Yes, perfect. That's like, that's fine if it's in the contract, but it doesn't necessarily have to start with those details. And the same goes for definitions. Yes, definitions are important, but usually once something goes wrong, and until then, no one reads the definitions. And by the way, only lawyers read definitions. So you can put them at the end of the contract. And what I'm telling you now is something you can apply in every document. If you first look at who is this for, what do they need from this communication document, what form suits that purpose best, you come up with probably a very different structure than how you're used to drafting it just in text. And if you have that structure, you have a basis that's actually that's gonna be solid for your writing as well as for your visualizations.
Yeah, this is so interesting, Anna. The process behind it. I think it helps a lot the audience understands better the steps that are necessary to be able to redesign or to start a new design. But it's also like the amount of work that is required. It's not something that you can do in just, adding a few icons or a little bit of color here and there. There's a whole process behind it. There's a whole methodology. There are different skills you need to build in terms of thinking visually, in terms of, doing visuals too, right? The information architecture, I think, as you have mentioned, it's true. Like, it's kind of easier if you're not good with visuals because it's just organizing the information.
Yes.
But it makes total sense, right? The definition, I thought it was a great example. Nobody reads the definition until there's a problem and we're trying to figure out what the contract was supposed to mean in the first place. So it's true, the parties don't need to have the definition right on, after on page 1 or page 2, it can be at the end. I thought that was really, really brilliant. There's a lot of interaction in the chat, so let's take a moment to read a little bit because it's so cool to be able to see everybody engaging. We have Omolulu tuning in from the Netherlands. I believe you've met recently. I don't know if it was in person or virtually, but I believe you have met.
We just, as a side step, I can mention I met Omololu last week in the Netherlands in Delft because we had this kickoff event of the Dutch Legal Design Lab, and with a couple of other initiators in the Netherlands, we have been in contact with Delft University that has design faculty in order to try to set up a legal design lab similar to other labs you see at Stanford and in Helsinki. And it's really exciting. In the Netherlands, we don't have a university that has both a design faculty and a law faculty. So in trying to set this lab up, we are gathering people from different universities, people from the legal design practice, like myself, and joining forces and making clear to the design community that there are a lot of challenges in law and legal services that we think can be helped by applying design, and the other way around, that the world of law wants to learn about design, how to apply that themselves too. And we're hoping the Dutch Legal Design Lab will be a space for education, for learning, for business opportunities, and just an innovative space to develop legal design in the Netherlands. So I'm very excited about the possibilities this legal design lab may have. And well, okay, so that was we met.
This
Yes,
is great. This is great. So the great news is there is now a legal design lab in the Netherlands. And so that means universities are joining forces because they really see the opportunity, and not just the opportunity. I think it's a necessity, right? I think we have seen this with the COVID-19. Nobody has time to read complex information. We need to make things easier and simpler for people to comply, to understand. It just makes life easier for everybody. And so it's great. There's a lab, and it was great. There's already people engaged, and this is so great.
Yeah, I should mention it's not official yet.
It's not official yet, so it's a secret.
We're all volunteering, but we kind of took the just do it approach. So we got all these people together. It's like, okay, we're creating this lab.
Wow, this is
and
great.
This was the kickoff of having it officially established, hopefully.
This is amazing. So it's going to be open, but it's in the process. So by the way, if anyone wants to do that in their own country, I'm pretty sure you can contact Anna and get in touch with Anna. I'm pretty sure she will have some great insights to share. Also, tell us what you have learned so far on this amazing talk with Anna on the topic of legal information design. Please, please, please share with us. We'd love to know what you have learned and what insight you got. There was so much comments. It was so great to see everybody engage here. I see someone here saying using the whiteboard with the customers and clients and students, using Mural to draw and design ideas, finding solutions together. Bianca is saying the amount of information that comes to us has increased so much. There's a real need to reduce or at least to express more effectively using visuals, because it's true, we have this information overload. How do we get people to remember what's in the contract? Well, the science proves that if you add visuals, they're going to remember 50% more the information. So
and also, if I can add, of course, as lawyers, we're used to reading and writing a lot. But what I see in a lot of my projects, once we start redesigning documents, a lot of my clients at some point, they say they feel relieved. They feel relieved because you've made something more accessible. You've made it easier to read this document, and everyone has so much reading to do. So it's not just as a lawyer helping your client, but I think it really resonates with the lawyers themselves too.
We have here Lucrecia saying avoiding legal jargon and being clear enough for everyone to understand. This is the real goal. Here we have some great comments as well that apparently there's a study. I think this is Ameline says there's a study, 21% of the project success, 43% of projects would fail because the message is too complicated and there's a misunderstanding. So that's how powerful, that's how important communication is. I may share a quick story here. So I have a background and training in mediation. I've done some mediation, and I have to admit, most of the time, the reason people entered into a conflict was miscommunication. They just did not communicate in a way that the other person did not understand, got frustrated, got angry or sad, whatever. And then they ended up in a conflict. And sometimes I was like, it's just communication. And then we use the law, or we use mediation, or we use whatever to resolve it. But in the first place, how can we communicate better? I think this is very important, right? Someone says they have learned today improving the holistic touch for legal creative design. This is so nice of you to say. Rudolph, Rudolph from Mexico, he has learned Netherlands is really advanced and the reference in the world. Sure, the Legal Design Lab will turn into a reference for top legal design. This is so nice of you to say. And yeah, I believe so. I believe there is a fertile soil for that in the Netherlands too, right? There's a lot of players. You one of the major player in the Netherlands and in Europe. There are others as well who are kind of complementary to your skills. So this is so amazing that you are able to join forces. Bianca is joining forces with university, legal and design departments. So if in other countries you have everything in one single university, why not do a pilot project? Why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Alana from Brazil, just do it. Just go all in. We have said. Alana from Brazil said she has really enjoyed learning from you, Anna, about your experience with legal design, and she's learned how to improve her own legal design process. Lulu, very exciting times for legal design in the Netherlands and the wider community. Absolutely. Maybe you guys should come back when you have made some reach another milestone, and maybe we can talk about it.
Yes, that would be perfect. And I know that Omololu is a teacher, and he already has a lot of experience in teaching at Maastricht University, Tilburg University, if I'm correct, and in legal tech. Well, let's if we have a chance, so we can talk more about the legal design lab once it's progressed a bit further.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to see the outcomes this is going to bring, and the transformation this is going to help catalyze too in for lawyers, for law students, for the community, for people too, right? Is there one thing we've talked about so many things, and by the way, everybody who's watching live, even replay, let us know right now, right here, what you have learned. We'd love to know. If there's anything you would like to ask, this is your chance. Even if you watch the replay, we'll make sure to get your answers. I have a question. So all of this sounds really incredible. Like you're working with Aclara Legal Design, your consultancy firm, you have established yourself a name, a brand, a practice. I'm sure there are many people who may feel, wow, this is so exciting. Maybe they want to get started on this journey. What you would recommend them to do, to start doing maybe today, something simple that they could get started with legal information design? Is there one thing you would recommend people that they start doing?
Well, I think what could be a good starting point, so in terms of if you really want to focus on your visual skills, I'd start learning about the basics of graphic design and visual design. So learning how the basics of typography, of colors and color psychology, how we interpret images. So a lot of design is about seeing, actually. I think that is one of the most important skills to be able to see better. And there are a lot of resources out there where you can learn these basics on, and all sorts of platforms on YouTube, anything. Just to get started with the visual skills. And specifically, if you look at, as a lawyer, if you look at your own work, depending on what role you have, I'd suggest sitting down and thinking about what your clients or your audience, what their journey is with you. For example, if you're a law firm and people go to your website, whatever, they contact you, you have a conversation, and you say, your client may say, like, I have this issue, what should I do? Can you help me with this? So probably the first step after that is the lawyer sends out an engagement letter to how to engage their law firm. What does that engagement letter look like? What does it communicate to your client? So I think about the journey people have with your services in whatever role you have, all those touch points, and think about how much does your communication, how much does it fit what that person needs from you, and in what form. And I think it will, if you embrace visualizations on top of text, but also really thinking about your user needs or your client needs, that will resonate with them and help improve your relationship. So even if you're not there yet in terms of visual skills, just really empathizing with your clients and thinking about your touch points and how to make their lives easier, and make working with you more enjoyable, and make them feel, because that's also often a problem, make them feel more empowered. I think what you want as a lawyer is your clients to still feel empowered in whatever legal issue they may have, instead of, oh, just give it to me, I'm your lawyer, I'll get it done, and people get totally disconnected from you. So I think those will be my starting points. And
This is
I'm not
so
saying
great.
it's easy, by the way.
Did you say it's easy? Yeah, it's easy?
No, it's not.
No,
Well, I
it's
think for a lot,
not.
it's not easy. I think, well, you can, no, starting with the visual skills, of course, you take it step by step and thinking about the journey and your touch points step by step. And taking first step is easy, but it's, for a lot of lawyers, it's the mindset shift that we'll probably often have talked about before. In really putting yourself in someone else's shoe, it's new to a lot of lawyers to have this approach. And it may be a bit uncomfortable at first, but once you start working like that, I've seen for a lot of lawyers, they enjoy, they get a new energy. They enjoy their work more, because they're doing things differently, and because they're connecting better with their clients, and improved relationships help you enjoy your work more too.
This is fantastic. I really love this. I see Bianca is commenting on that as well. Imagine the day clients get excited and happy to meet with the lawyers because they are able to give a sense of relief by designing or redesigning complex documents. Just brilliant. Cynthia says she's been really inspired by you and to continue learning graphic design, extending her studies to UX, UI, UX user experience, UI user interface or user interactions, to continue this journey. Yes, and I think what you have said, there were 3 tips. I have recapped the 3 tips that you can do today, although, as Anna said, may not be easy, but if you have the perseverance, you will get some results for sure. Anything you get to put more focus on, you get some results. Building your visual skills. So there's a lot of book references in the chats that everybody got to share. You can use some of the book references. I think Anna mentioned a few as well. Maybe Anna, I don't know if you're gonna bring some more after the talk, but here there were a few. The Ideal book. This is great. Those are French books, so this is great for the Francophone who are listening to us. I know there was Armel who was there on the live from France. So this is great. And I think Marty from Canada also shared a few references here. So make sure to get those books and get started
Yes.
with your visual display of
Yeah.
quantitative information. Interesting, love that.
Yes, Edward Tufte is like one of the rock stars of information design and data visualization. Yes, absolutely.
So that was the first suggestions, and really visualizing the customer journey. I was not expecting this one, but I think this is a really smart one. Yeah, visualize the customer journey. How much information do you provide? How do you communicate information? Is it just text? Can you maybe put it on visuals? Can you make it interactive, more engaging? Now that we use internet, this amazing tool, and it's been around for quite some time now, we can do even more, right, with online interaction design as well. So interesting, Anna. And also today is Anna's birthday. So happy birthday, Anna. Thank you for making
Thank
the
you.
time today on your birthday. Talk about legal design, legal information design. It's been a joy for me to get to know you better and to get to learn a little bit about your process as well. Before we go, is there anything you would like to add, Anna? I mean, I think we could talk for the entire day, but I would
Yeah,
have a lot more questions to
probably,
ask.
probably. So many
But
more things we can say about legal information design, but I think it's just like don't be scared to just start experimenting is probably the most important thing, and remembering that we're all visual and we all have visual skills. They may not be that's developed yet, or maybe not in your legal work, but it's something that you can tap into, and I encourage everyone to do that.
yeah, this is so true. This is so true. Don't be scared by you maybe inexperienced in the beginning. Just trust the process. Anna has done this. There's many others that have done this, that are doing this. It's a process, and it's a process that we
Yeah,
have heard from you, Anna. It never really stops. You
yeah.
always learn. You keep learning. Keep,
Oh,
yeah,
and
go.
one more thing. Of course, don't forget you can always work together with designers.
Of
it's
course.
it's like I encourage people to develop their skills, but not everyone has to become a full-time designer, of course. And a legal design is also about collaboration. So you can also be perfectly comfortable setting up some sketches and some visualizations, and then working with a designer to make it into something professional looking, for example, or something more elaborate and complex. But even if you don't work together with designers, it's just get started.
Just get started. And yeah, the collaboration part is very important. I agree also. We don't need to acquire all the skills. We don't need to necessarily become graphic designers. We don't need either to be coders. We can just work with coders. We can work with graphic designers. We can collaborate more. Happy birthday once again, Anna. It's been a joy to have you on this really special day. Cynthia is joining me as well, wishing you a happy birthday and thanking you for
Thank
the
you.
amazing talk today. Stay in touch with Anna. Anna, what is the best way to connect with you and to stay in touch with you?
It's probably just look up my profile on LinkedIn is probably best. I'll share a lot of my work through LinkedIn, and just find my name. And also on Instagram, you can find me at Aclara Legal Design. So
Make sure
look
to
forward to
connect with
seeing you.
Anna on LinkedIn right here, and also on her Instagram. Thank you so much once again for being here. I look forward to the next conversation we're going to have together and with the community, and to seeing you grow in this field. Is there a next step, and is there anything we can do to help you, Anna, on this journey?
Um, Well, now that you mention it, if anyone would like to be involved in legal design projects, I'm always looking for people for my test groups. So sometimes I have designs that I want to test with people, and I'll be asking for their insights about my designs. So if you go to my website, that's aclaradesign.nl, send me a message or on LinkedIn and let me know if you want to be a tester. And it gives you an insight into my design process, and is very valuable for me, because testing, super important.
This is great. So make sure to connect with Anna to be part of her tester group. This is amazing. Oh, this is such a great opportunity. This is going to be a win-win for everybody. So make sure to connect to get the chance, the opportunity to see a little bit more the inside out of legal design and apply to information, and be ready to give you feedback. Thanks again, Anna. It was a joy.
Thank
We've been here
you.
for an hour
Wow.
already. This is great. And thank you to all of the live attendees for being
Yes.
so engaged today. We really love it when you are commenting, asking questions, even commenting on each other's posts. This is the power of community. Make sure to connect with each other, to stay in touch, because this is a movement. It's happening all around the world. And if you are here, you already are part of this movement. You can now decide to be a little bit more active, a little bit more involved by becoming a tester for Anna's testing group. As Cynthia already says, yes, she wants to be a tester.
Perfect.
By coming back to those lives that are organized now quite often now. This week we have live almost every day, so you can come back. Tomorrow we're going to have one in French. So we're going to speak to the Francophone community about the status of legal design in the Francophonie around the world. So make sure to come back and to stay in touch with this community. Thank you once again, Anna.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you so
birthday.
much, Tessa.
Enjoy,
We'll be in
and
touch.
we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Bye.